Julie, hi. Just
Hi,
hello.
how are you?
Good. You know, I saw that for some weird reason I have this meeting scheduled twice, and I just hope it's not two different links.
Oh,
I know that it's so weird. I can't. Could I have done it twice? Very weird.
I feel like I got a couple emails about it. I
Oh,
didn't even
here's
know
Beverly.
that it,
Okay.
yeah, I didn't even notice it if it was, I just clicked the link on my calendar because it populated. So that was
Yeah.
easier
Okay. So
to my
here's
email. So,
Beverly's here. We'll just wait. And
okay,
hopefully, so we only have just Nancy. So
okay,
yeah. So
okay,
and she may email me if she has
okay,
trouble. So
okay.
that would be good.
And did you, I'm not sure, I'm still trying to figure out the website. I didn't know I just texted you maybe a half hour ago. I posted a video last night, but I'm not sure if I did it right in the way that I didn't know how to tag you so that you see it. So,
Okay, you don't need to tag me. Let me just go
okay.
over there right now
Yeah,
and
you don't have to right
we'll,
now. I just want to
we'll
make
look
sure you
at it.
saw it.
Yeah, no, we'll look at it because I want to make sure everybody is okay with using it. It's not complicated to use. So
Yeah, I figured out, I got my YouTube account set up and figured out how to do
good.
the link. And I appreciated that you said not to, to mark the not for kids part. And so, but then, and it's not, I see it on the website and one person liked it. So I figured it was working and live. So,
Yeah. Oh, good.
but
Good. Okay. So I'm just waiting for this. My internet sometimes gets really, really slow.
it's kind of a long video too. So,
Yeah. So I'm just waiting for it to bring up the website so that I can go in there and make sure. Okay.
yeah. And it's definitely going to give you motion sickness if you're prone to motion sickness. Cause a lot of it is like me moving around and it focused on the ground instead of Ula, but you can hear him. So that kind of gives you some indication as to what he's doing. It was
Okay.
one of our less successful attempts at calming him down.
Yeah. And he has to be willing to go. I mean, he has to make the effort. It has to come from him. And
Right.
I think where we sometimes miss our opportunity is that we think we have to control it.
Yeah.
But we can't.
Yeah.
We really
Yeah.
can't. So I'm just
he after the video I posted, he eventually went back and laid down in the same spot and it was my neighbor. There wasn't even another dog. And he was just out there playing badminton with somebody in the street. And for some reason, this guy is a real trigger for Ula. And I don't know why. There used to be another guy that lived there that used to taunt Ula. So I think he may still think it's the same guy or something. I don't know. But he eventually went and laid back down there and was quiet and not barking. So he did sort of choose to put himself back in the setting and then not react. But the initial outburst was pretty lively.
Okay, good.
Lively is such a nice word for it.
I'm trying to be, trying to be kind about it.
But okay, so we've got a couple of posts up on the website. So let's just go there first and we'll look at those and see if there's anything that that we want to ask or mention or whatever. And then I have some slides that I want to show you because what it does is give us kind of a just review the big picture of where we're going with this, why we're doing what we're doing, just so that, you know, you can see, kind of decide where you've been, where you are now, where we want to be, and it kind of puts everything in perspective. So I think it's going to be helpful. And then, you know, after that, if you want to ask any questions or clear up anything, and I know Beverly and Julie, you already have a one-on-one set up for this week, but Nancy, you don't have one yet. So,
I thought we had one for Wednesday.
oh, hang on. Okay. See,
I think.
Wednesday, okay, I don't have it down. So Wednesday, the 21st? Did you just schedule that just recently? You're muted.
I have it at noon on Wednesday. Does that work?
Yes, Beverly's at 11, so yes, it works at noon.
Okay, but I guess I didn't do it right.
I'm gonna check and see
Okay.
what you did, and I'll do that. Actually, I'll do that after we sign off here. I'll go and look. Did you sign up for that, like, just like within the last couple hours, or was it a while ago?
It was a bit ago. It was soon after you sent out the email with the options, like maybe later that evening or the next morning. Is that
Oh,
right?
okay. What you might be confusing is I sent out a Calendly poll for the group meeting.
Yeah. Was there not also another one to
I'll
one-on-one?
look and see. If you want Wednesday at noon, then we can do that. I might make it 12:15 if that's okay.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
We
Okay.
can communicate about
Yeah,
that.
I'll just make sure that if it's not already scheduled, that I will schedule it and I'll send you the link. Okay? So we'll get that done. Good. Okay. All right. So before we look at the website, anybody else want to ask anything? Nope. Okay. Let's go over and look. Okay. So this is the seasick video that Julie mentioned. So I have not looked at this yet. Goodness, I should have. It was 16 hours ago. I should have, but I didn't. So, okay. Let's look.
They're just playing. They're just playing. Hi. They're just playing. They're playing. Yeah. They're just playing. Come here. They're just playing. Yeah, they're just playing. I know. I know. They're just playing. I can see. I can see. I can see they're just playing in the yard. Yeah. Yeah, they're just playing. No. Are they playing? They're playing games? Yeah. They're just playing games outside. That's it. They're just playing games outside. Everyone's just playing. Everyone's just playing. They're playing just like you. Yeah. Are they playing? Yes. They're playing. Okay, yeah, just like you do. What would you like to do now?
Okay, I love that you asked a question. The reason I paused it there is because I just want to look at his expression and his body language. His ears are a little tense at the base, a little alert and forward. His mouth is open, but he's not like panting heavily so that his tongue is hanging out. So we're almost done with this. So Julie, how would you compare his actions throughout the course of the video? He started obviously excited, reacting to, I guess there's people playing. What was it, kids playing out there?
It was a couple things. It was the guy across the street that I mentioned. It was just random. Like he and his girlfriend decided to start playing badminton in the street. So they were out there, and that's the guy, for whatever reason, this guy really triggers him. But then at the same time, somebody drove up and got out of the car, and then they were talking. So it was like kind of sustained activity right there. It wasn't like the normal reaction where somebody walks by with their dog and then they're out of sight. They stayed in that spot. So yeah, that's why I kept saying they were playing, because they're just playing badminton, and I mean, but they stayed right there where he could see them, and you could see, I mean, he exploded initially, which is, and I think when you and I had our first session, you had suggested that I go over there and acknowledge what was going on. So I kept going sort of back over to that overlook where he can see them. And then he would go back over there, and then he'd be like, oh my God, they're still there. And then kind of like pull himself away from the situation. So he kept doing that, like go over there, look, get too excited, walk away. Cause he kind of pulls himself away from it because it's just like too much. And then he also, part of what our routine used to be is when he would pull himself away from it and settle, right around the corner where he is the refrigerator where I keep the treats. And so I think sometimes he pulls himself away and like starts heading for the refrigerator because he expects to be rewarded for like not being too excited. So, but I did notice, like, even though it was like 3 boisterous going back, he did seem to start calming down in this latter part of the video.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But it took a while. It was a loud
Yeah, that's
session.
okay. I mean, this video isn't even a minute and a half.
It seemed like a long time at the
I know,
time,
it
but
feels that way.
but maybe, yeah, I
know.
guess in reality,
I know.
it does,
But-
it
That's one of the values of having a video. If it feels like it's taking forever, then you look at the time and, oh my goodness, like
Yeah.
a minute and 21 seconds. Really?
yeah, felt like about
Oh.
15 minutes, but I guess, yeah, in reality, it wasn't that long.
No, and putting it in, in perspective like that, it isn't really that long. And he's doing a lot of pacing, which might be his way of self-soothing, pacing back and forth. And his barking doesn't sound as, 'cause some of those early videos, his barking was really like anxious. I mean, he was really upset and he couldn't calm himself down. But in this, he looks like he's starting to calm himself down. So what all of you, I want you to try to think in terms of, it starts with your mindset, really. And think about, I'm going to talk later on about taking deep breaths, because that is one of the ways that we change our own energy. If you're anxious, one of the ways you can, change your internal state, your energy, whatever, is to think about just taking slow, deep breaths. And I think I
Beverly,
mentioned
can I ask a question? Is
yeah,
this-
sure. Beverly, go ahead.
I'm interested because my career work has to do with our own voices, how we speak and present. And I wonder, you have such a cheer in your voice, Julia. I mean, you love your dog so much, but I wonder if my pitch, I don't know, I'm so new at this, but maybe are they playing? Maybe that high in your head sound, might it contribute to the excitement? I don't know, but I'm
It
finding with
often
my dog
does.
barks
It
much
often-
more quickly
yeah.
than yours. If I go, oh, I see. There they are. When my voice goes down, maybe you've noticed this, Marilyn, in my videos, she breathes a little differently. And so I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, I don't know. It just seemed like when the voice was high, maybe that was part of it. He thought you were excited with him or something. I don't
Well,
know.
yes, a high tone of voice does sometimes do that. And that's all part of what I want all of you to think about, how you're feeling. Are you feeling a little anxious? And of course, the videos, we can hear what we're saying, and we can, ask, how does this sound to the dog? What does he want from us? And I'd like, as we progress through this, I want you to, Beverly makes a good point about, that's why we use, those squeaky toys, this little high squeak, squeak, squeak. Those, if you want to get it, like animal photographers, if they want to get the dogs to perk up and look alert, they'll go squeak, squeak, So part of the way you calm yourselves, calm your dogs down, is to think about speaking slowly, breathing, and talking in a way that's calm. I'll give you an example. You all know about my puppies, right? The 8 puppies that I had. And when it's time to settle down for bedtime, they're all like, they're all in a room together. There's like a huge pen and beds and crates that they can choose to go and sleep in as they wish. And sometimes, they'll come in and they're all like bouncy, and I will, turn the lights down, and I will talk to them in a very low voice, and I'll go, shh, it's bedtime. It's bedtime. Everybody go to sleep. Everybody relax. Time to lie down, just like that. And if one of them isn't lying down, I might quietly say their name, like it might be Patrick, who's usually very bouncy. I'll say, Patrick, it's time to lie down. Can you lie down and go to sleep? And wouldn't you know, if Patrick is sitting up or standing up, if I talk to him, and he doesn't know what lie down means, I haven't taught them that word. So it's not, a quote command. But when he'll just lie down and put his head down on the floor, and I'll say, oh, that's very nice. Very good. Time to go to
It's really interesting to think about just lowering the tone of my voice. One of my friends has a golden retriever puppy who's like already 80 pounds at 8 months. And she calls it like using her spa voice. She's like, when she's trying to get everybody calmed down, she like talks really slowly. And so maybe it's because I'm trying to like, I'm still, I think, trying to, figure out how to implement the guidance you gave, Marilyn, because I'm trying to be like, oh, no big deal. There's people playing out there, but maybe because my voice is raising up. And I did want to ask you too, the way I remember the guidelines is like, I'm not supposed to tell him no, I'm not supposed to pull him away, I'm not supposed to like drag, keep him from going over there, right? It's all about him choosing, because and again, in my head, this seemed like it was a lot longer than a minute and a half, but when he went back the third time, like my gut instinct would be like, would you stop doing that? But I resisted the urge, and then he did eventually kind of choose to calm down. But yeah, the tone of voice and that, that I haven't tried that yet.
One of the hardest things when we're working with dogs, and this has always been true, and it's been true for probably 99% of the people I've ever worked with, is the hardest thing is to wait for the dog to make a decision. Because we're, our human instinct, it's so counterintuitive for us to sit back and we feel like we're doing nothing. But a lot of times the dog just needs some space to work it out. And to just step away for a minute and give the dog the space to work it out it's counterintuitive. It feels like we should be doing something.
Well, and it's embarrassing when your neighbors are out there and your dog is
I know.
acting a lunatic. So I
Yeah,
think
it's
that's part of it
hard.
for me is just like, I mean, it's like embarrassing, like my dog is crazy and I'm not doing anything about it is how I kind of feel sometimes. Like, because I feel like people are giving me this look like, geez, lady, you know, what's going on up
But
there?
that's the judgment that you're making on
Right.
yourself.
Sure. Yeah.
And other people are probably not even thinking that. And
Probably.
I know, because I would think the same thing. But, you know, we're much harder on ourselves than other people are. And you're not the only person in the world that has a dog that barks. We
True.
are. So, and you know, if that thought is in your head, that might be part of, you know, the energy that you're sending to the dog, which makes it harder for him to relax, because he doesn't, you know, he senses that
But
tension.
I'm frustrated.
Yeah, I mean, dogs do, they just do.
Yeah.
That's who they are. And so what we need to do is, and all of us, me included, we need to just take a deep breath. And Beverly's question is a very good point. Think about lowering your voice, speaking slowly, taking breaths, and instead of, as he's pacing back and forth, instead of pacing with him, plant yourself in the place, probably I would say in the place where he's most anxious. So if it's at that spot in the on the balcony where he can really see a lot going on, and the street, stay there. So the parallel would be sort of, you know, I think I told you all the story of, you know, Radar, how we used to get all excited, UPS truck, the FedEx truck, you know, the mailman, all of that, anything that showed up in the driveway. So he would pace back and forth, and I would stay in one place, like by the window where he's most likely to see everything. And I would just talk and say, yeah, look at that. Isn't that interesting? Look at all of that, you know, and not in a way that would say, oh my goodness, here's the, you know, here's the UPS, which would be mirroring his excitement, but it would be more like, oh, look, isn't that interesting? You know, if they're playing badminton, you could say, you know, ooh, look at that. They're playing badminton out there. Isn't that interesting? My goodness, I haven't seen them play that game before. And look at they're bouncing that funny looking thing back and forth. I wonder what that, you know, that kind of thing. So that it's and stay in one spot. And if he wants to go away and come back and go away and come back, fine. You know, he can do that. But every time he approaches you, you're in that hot spot.
Okay.
Where, you know, he can see like all the dangerous, quote, dangerous stuff
Right.
happening. But you're okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So every time he comes into your little energy bubble, what he feels is, you know, that's cool. Look at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It gives me a nightly opportunity to practice, so I will. I'll try that tonight.
Yeah, and you know, it's not going to be perfect. You'll get better at it the more you do it, and the dogs are going to give you plenty of opportunities to they are. They're just going to give you loads of opportunities. So say, oh, good. The dog is barking. I get another chance to practice this. So Beverly, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I don't want to dominate. I know this was your
Oh,
video,
you're not
Julie.
dominating. This is, we're all sharing.
Gathering here. Two things that have really been helpful to me. And again, I'm fresh out of the gate. I think we started a week ago or something, but
We all started at the same time. Yeah.
good. That's really helpful. One thing is I found it frustrating and a little scary at first when Marilyn, when you said, you know, if your dog likes to be touched, be with him and her and you know, stroke her or rub her. I'm going, I don't want to be near that racket. And I had to cut through my resistance of the getting near something that's offensive. And so when I found myself being with her, I have insisted that if I ask her a question like, well, wow, what do you think about that kid on the skateboard? When you ask a question, you got to let them answer, even if it's, I hate this kid on the skateboard. But to ask, wow, how about that? And looking out at the offending error rather than at her makes a really big difference. That was really helpful to me, Marilyn, when you said, you know, don't focus on her, focus on what she's looking at and go,
Mhm.
oh, I don't even see that. That must be really scary. I don't know, it's shifted something for us. And Noelle is not always, but occasionally she will stop sooner. Almost like, I'm fed up with you touching me, I'm going to go away now. But I think it's more, I'm no longer offended. I'm no longer frightened. And therefore, I'm cool with this new security I feel. I don't think she feels quite as desperately needy to protect me from the wickedness. And it's really comforting. I almost laughed yesterday because she stopped so soon. I thought she'd be at it longer and it was, and I said, oh, bummer, man, that's a weird thing, isn't it? And she walked away. And this is not her usual practice. So, you know, if that's any help, the touching, even if it's frightening to be near her, somehow
You don't
weird.
have to pet her. You don't have to do this.
It's really fun. Yeah.
I mean, that's not required. It's just that sometimes it's helpful. Like, you know, my dog is so touchy. One of them is so touchy-feely that it helps him if I've got my hands on him. The other one is just like zooming around and would prefer that I keep my hands to myself. So it just depends on what the dog wants. And the thing that we forget is that when we're looking at the dog, we're focusing on the dog's energy. But when we're looking at what the dog is looking at, we can focus on our own energy, which is feeding into the dog. So if you're looking at like the skateboard or whatever is, and looking at the skateboard and saying, look at that skateboard, isn't that really interesting? You're thinking about how you feel about the skateboard, which is, you know, it's a skateboard, big deal. Whereas if you're looking at the dog, you're saying, you know, oh my goodness, you're all excited, calm down. And then, so you've got the same, you and the dog are feeding on each other's anxious energy, which isn't helping. Does that make sense, everybody? Yeah, so look, you know, and it's so much of it is about the energy that you convey to the dog. So much of it. And you're not gonna flip the switch on your own energy in a second. It takes a little bit of practice and a little bit of you know, mindfulness and paying attention to it. And part of mindfulness is paying attention to how you're breathing. Because, you know, in any kind of situation where we get a little stressed, our tendency is to stop breathing. So I'll give you an example, because I think I shared this with you, that I school the therapy horses at the equine assisted therapy facility where I volunteer. And part of my volunteer work is working with the horses, and some of the, you know, the horses each have their own personalities, and some of them are easily stressed, you know, like your dogs. If something novel turns up in their environment, they go into panic mode. And with a horse, it's a little different than with the dog, because horses are prey animals. So their instinct is not to stand there and, act aggressive toward, put on a display. None of your dogs are aggressive. All of this barking is just, it's just a display. It's how they want to present to the thing that is making them worried. Horses don't do that. Horses run away. So we can't have, if it's a therapy horse, we can't have horses that run away. So one of the strategies that I use to help the horses calm down is I sing to them. And I sing little nursery rhyme songs like, and please, I have a terrible singing voice. I can't carry a tune. The horses don't care, because the reason I do that is because I have to breathe. You can't sing and not breathe. It's not possible. So take that little tip, and if it's useful to you, use it. Instead of talking about the thing you're looking at, you could start singing verses of Old MacDonald, or you could sing, the alphabet song, or the Wheels on the Bus, any of those little nursery rhyme songs. And the reason I'm suggesting those is that there's a rhythm to them and they're repetitious, and you have to stop and breathe. So Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star is another one. It's the same rhythm as the alphabet, A, B, C, D.
So it doesn't really matter what you're saying, because I know that when, the way I interpreted the guidance was to talk specifically about the thing, but I guess, there's no way my dog knows what badminton is anyway. So talking about that doesn't really matter. So it really, it can just be, it's more your tone of voice and that you're saying something looking at the trigger, and that's, it doesn't really matter what you're saying. So it could be,
It doesn't matter.
like I could be doing a meditation chant towards the thing and saying the same thing over and over and over, and it wouldn't, it's just the looking at it and saying something with a calm voice.
Yes, it's the energy that
Okay.
is driving what you're saying.
So I don't need to
So,
say there,
the
it can just be random dialogue about
Yeah.
anything.
yeah.
Okay.
And the reason I told you to talk about the thing that the dog is looking at is that it's something concrete. It gives you
Right.
something to say. So you can you can definitely do that. I do that a lot with the UPS guy or the mailman. But if you're more comfortable with a nursery rhyme song, do that. If you're more comfortable with, like you said, a meditation chant, as long as the energy, as long as you're breathing, and as long as the energy comes from calmness,
Okay.
peacefulness, you're mindful, you're not stressed, you're not anxious, and as long as it's having that effect. Now, you can do that same kind of thing with your dog in the absence of a trigger. You can sit down with your dog and you can have a conversation. You can tell your dog something that happened when you were, out for a walk, or when you stopped at the grocery store. You say, the most interesting thing happened today. I went into the grocery store and blah, blah, blah. You can make up something. Or you can even read a chapter of a book or a poem to your dog. As long as the tone of your voice is soothing, almost like a little sing-song tone in your voice, anything that you're saying, like you said, the dog doesn't know the words. The dog knows the intention behind the words. So whatever you're saying, it doesn't matter. The point is project an energy and if, and I think probably staying in one place, even if the dog is moving around, staying in one place would probably be helpful, because as you move around, you might be reflecting kind of a nervous energy, possibly. You know. Okay. So this
I
is
have a
really,
question.
yeah, go ahead.
Just, is it possible that because of our dog, we're in a different category, or is it true that we don't, it doesn't matter the words we use? Because I kind of thought you told us it did. So I'm just wanted to clarify.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about what you remembered me telling you, so that if I
I feel
misled you, I can clarify.
I feel like maybe what we were saying at one point is, oh, there's nothing out there, not to worry about it. And I think that you were saying, no, we need to make sure we affirm that we understand that she's afraid, and that is something along those lines.
Yeah, and
Make sense?
yes, and it's the same thing applies, that the words, if the words reflect your state of mind, then you're using the right words.
Okay.
So if
So
you're
if we're going,
saying,
there's nothing out there, then that's not good. But if we're saying there's nothing out there. Okay.
yes, yes, it's the energy that you're projecting to the dog. So, you know, the videos that you presented were, I could see in the beginning how anxious she was, like really like, oh my God, there's something out there, holy mackerel, it's, you know, and it took a while for you to project that calm energy to her. She's not going to pick it up right away. She needs time to process it. You know, social processing doesn't happen like in a heartbeat. It happens over time with continuing calm repetition of the same thing. And the dog says, oh yeah, okay. Can you say that again? I'm not sure I got it that last time. So yeah, and every dog is different. Some dogs pick up on it quickly, some dogs don't. I mean, it took radar weeks and weeks and weeks and lots of repetition of the, you know, the trucks coming down the driveway. Lots of, you know, mailmen pulling up and leaving a package on the porch, and he would, oh, you know, and I would say, yeah, look at that. I guess the mailman's here. How about
We've definitely seen a difference in the smaller triggers that she's able to calm herself, and she's not even barking as much as the smaller triggers. I think there's probably some things that she's not barking at that maybe she would have 2 weeks ago. But the
Perfect.
John walking down the driveway, that's the beat.
Yeah, and the smaller things will be resolved first. That makes sense, right? The smaller.
And Meryl, I think this would apply to both Nancy and I. So just, I think I'm having the same kind of conversation in my head about what to do. But even if it doesn't matter as much what we say, but we need to actually go to the spot where they are and look and acknowledge.
Yeah.
I can tell that you see something or hear something or smell something, and often in the case of my dog. So like acknowledging it and going to that place. Like I can't do that from the other side of the room or from the couch or something. I need to actually go to where they're, because yeah, I don't know if that's helpful to you too, Nancy, but yeah, it seems like we do need to go there, but once we get there and look out the window or the door or whatever, what we actually say is, it doesn't really matter. Is that right?
That's right. And
Okay.
exactly. You do need to go to where the dog is, you know, whatever that hot zone is, where the dog is looking at the trigger and reacting to the trigger. And you're right, you can't do it from across the room. Because when you try to do it from across the room, it's like me calling over like, hey, cut it out, calm down. It's not helpful. So you need to go where the dog is, it's like the dog is saying to you, hey, look at this, look at this. And unless you go right there and look at it with the dog, you're not really supporting that. And the first step is to acknowledge, just acknowledge what the dog is seeing, and then appreciate it. Say, yeah, I can see what you're looking at. And yes, and then if it's helpful to describe what you're seeing, say, yes, they're playing badminton out there. Yep, I can see that. You know, if that is going to help your energy, then say that. Actually, the dog doesn't really care the words you say, but he does care about your energy. So if you're feeling anxious about what the dog is doing, saying, oh, my neighbors must think I can't control my dog. And if that's what you're feeling, then you need to just kind of work on your mindset. I know it's hard. It's easy for me to say, I know that. But what I'm saying is work on it. Try to focus on what the dog is looking at rather than what the dog is doing. And saying, yep, I see that. And I can see why that looks a little different to you. Yep, I sure do see that. And if it helps to touch the dog, touch the dog. You don't have to do that. I did it with Radar because that's his personality and it helped him. But you don't, I mean, it doesn't help every dog and you don't need to do that. But you do need to be present and supportive and have an energy that is acknowledging and appreciating. And then when the dog starts to settle down, that's when you ask, now what would you like to do? And see what the dog does.
I had a little
Yeah.
experiment the other day where well, I'd been taking a nap and Noelle went berserk and I groggily got up and kind of videotaped, but I didn't really have a lot to say. And when she finished the bark fest, she did that kind of like she was not really settled. So I kept the video running, but I didn't speak to her. I looked out and went, but that's all I said. And I stroked her because she does like touch. And I found when I didn't speak, she responded to not just the silence, but the quietude in me. It was fascinating. Oh, I don't get to talk all the time. It was kind of strange, but it showed me, as you've just said, it's not even what you're saying. It's that you're mentally accepting, yeah, this is hard or scary for you. And I'm here, but you do it totally just with your body. It was really quite amazing. I don't want to.
With your videos, Beverly, the one thing I wanted to suggest was, and I saw how you stopped speaking and I saw her energy start to settle down. I wonder if it would be more helpful if you were more in her line of sight. In the videos, it looked like you were behind her.
Right. Yeah, just behind her so I could see what she was seeing.
Yeah, I wonder if it would help if you got more in her line of sight, which isn't hard because dogs' eyes are on the sides of their heads.
Right.
So they have a lot wider peripheral vision than we do. So
Good
if you could like get beside her, and even if you didn't speak, just stand there so she could see you, and then concentrate. If you don't want to speak, that's fine. Concentrate on breathing.
Yeah.
Because that's what I do with the horses. I breathe when I'm not singing. I breathe, and that really helps them. And I take a deep breath, and then exhale in a sigh.
Yeah.
So they can hear it.
That's good.
And that is often really useful. So that was the one comment that I wanted to suggest for that, and I thought I'd wait till we got together to do that. Just get to where she could see you. Okay, all right. Anybody else want to ask anything? I do want to show you those slides. And I will post them. We can go through them real quick. And I will post them in the, on the group community website, so that you can look at them, because there's some charts in there and you can look at them at your leisure. So that's what I would like to do right now. Let me see if I can find the PowerPoint. It should be, yeah, here we go. Can you all see that?
Not yet. I see the website.
Okay. If it doesn't come up right away, I'll stop the share and start it again.
I'm looking at Julie's still shot of her video.
All right. All right. So let's stop the share and let's see if I start it again. Oh, okay. There we go. All right. Can you see it now?
Yep.
PowerPoint.
Can
Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right. So I want to go back to this beginning slide. This is, these are the two resources that you can look into for reactivity. They're a little bit different. Each approach is a little bit different, and it would depend on what worked best for the individual dog. So Grisha Stewart has, it's called BAT, Behavior Adjustment Training. And then Kelly Snyder has a book, I think the book is Turning Fierce Dogs Friendly or something like that. And it's Constructional Aggression Treatment. And the abbreviation is CAT. So those are two resources that you don't have to, but I just want you to know that there are some resources out there that you could look at if you wanted to. So when we're talking about reactivity, we're talking about a reaction to a normal situation that is outside of what we would consider norms, social norms. So, the extreme barking for a person just walking down the street, normal situation, and the dog's reaction is extreme, is outside of our social norms. And the thing to keep in mind, two things, is that there's a high cost for the dog. That kind of level of stress and anxiety is very costly. Takes a lot out of the dog. So we're really doing the dog a service by helping him change that stressful reaction to something that's less costly and more calming. But on the other hand, there is a functional reward. And by functional, what I mean is that the reward is built into the behavior. And so what they get is relief for the anxiety. So if you're afraid of something and you react to that fear by, having a, panic attack or whatever, that's extreme, there's a built-in relief, and that's the functional reward. And the way we help to resolve it is by teaching the dog a replacement behavior. That's kind of where we're starting. And the replacement behavior that we're trying to get the dog to choose is that I'm calm, my energy is calm, mirror that, and you'll feel better. So that's the overall replacement behavior. We can start to teach more specific things as we move forward, but we're just starting to show the dog, if you choose a calmer energy, you'll feel better. So the cost is lower. There's a higher functional reward because the dog feels more relaxed, which is better than feeling stressed. And the nature of the reward is politeness. And so, Julie, that's going to help you feel better because you have a dog that is showing the world that he can be polite. And so replacement behaviors, two general big categories. One of them is distance. So if the dog is worried about something, he can choose to walk away. And dogs do that all the time. A good example is if you're trying to trim the dog's nails and he doesn't want you to do it, he'll walk away. They have to be free to do that. That's part of the protocol for consent grooming. But dogs have to be free to get distance. So when our dogs are barking at something they see and they're anxious, that going away and coming back, going away and coming back is the beginning of having them choose to feel safe by getting distance. And it gives them relief. So that's why we have to allow that going away. And if they come back and look and then they go away, that's an important piece of helping them to learn a replacement behavior. It won't always be that pacing back and forth, but it's the first step, and it's an important piece that they have to be allowed to do that. And then what we're looking toward in the future is taking advantage of behaviors that are part of the dog's natural repertoire. Sniffing is natural for dogs, and we can use that, we can reinforce that as a replacement behavior. Instead of barking, go and sniff something. Which is, I mean, if they're sniffing, they're not going to be barking, and they're going to be doing something that has a really powerful functional reward built into it. And then looking away, and that's part, that could be a version of getting distance. If a dog is looking at something that has always been a trigger, if they choose to look away from it, and then that would lead to that third point, disengaging. If they intentionally disengage from the thing that had previously been a trigger, that's a choice. Dogs choose to look away and disengage from things all the time. It's a natural thing. So if we can take that and use it, we're better off. Now I'm going to jump to this slide right here, because this is a chart that kind of represents the process, the overall process. And there's 4 quadrants. The first quadrant is where many of you felt you probably were in the beginning, that the trigger and the reaction are one and the same. And that's reactivity. They see the thing and they react. They see the person on the street, bark, 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 bark. Instant. There's no decision involved. It's just instant reaction, right? Moving over to quadrant 2, the trigger is now at a distance, so the dog feels safe. The trigger is still a trigger, but the dog knows how to get distance from it, or is already at a distance, so the dog feels safe. So whatever that critical distance is, if the dog sees a person walking up to your front door, that might be too close. Dog will bark, bark, bark. But maybe if the dog sees that person like a block away, maybe that distance is enough and the dog feels safe. All right, so distance is going to be a factor. And then in the third quadrant, we have a dog choosing to engage and disengage because he's learned a new CER, means conditioned emotional response. And those are things that we teach. We teach a new conditioned emotional response. It's kind of what you're working on now with changing your energy. So the trigger is still the trigger. The trigger is always going to be there because that's part of the environment. That's not going to change. What's going to change is the dog's response. So if the dog thinks that, like Radar, for example, Radar is almost 3 years old. We've been working on this for a while. So the UPS truck comes down the driveway. That used to be a huge trigger. Bark, 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 oh my God, oh my God. We worked on it. I've been working on it. Now the UPS truck comes down the driveway and Radar goes, oh, woof, there's something out there. And my conditioned emotional response that I been working on teaching him is, yeah, look at that. So let's look at it. Yep, it's the UPS guy. How about that? So he's standing there looking, wagging his tail, which may mean he's friendly and it may not. We've never tested it. And he's looking, and the guy stops, opens the big sliding door on his truck, goes in, looks for the package. So he disappears inside the big brown truck, and Radar is watching all of this. So now his conditioned emotional response, his emotion is not, oh my God, it's dangerous. It's curious, like, look at that, that's curious. And then he comes out and he's walking up the driveway. So he's watching the whole thing. And he's interested. And the guy drops. He might do a couple of woof woofs. And I go to the window, I wave, I go, hi, thanks. Because I want Radar to hear a friendly voice. And the guy smiles and waves back. He might say something. He might say, nice day, or hot, isn't it? Or something. And I go, yeah. And it's a pleasant exchange. I'm working on his conditioned emotional response. This person is a friend. The trigger is still there, but this person is a friend. So he might be bouncy, bouncy and jumping around, and he might give me a couple of woofs, but it's not that panicky barking anymore. So that's what I mean by working on the conditioned emotional response. You've started to do that. And then what our goal is, the triggers are still there, but instead of that instant reaction, we have the dogs choosing self-regulation. We don't impose it from the outside. The dog has the agency to make that decision. You might still have a couple of woofs. I don't mind the woofs at all. He's alerting me. He's my living furry doorbell. He tells me when somebody is there, and I'm good with that because he's okay with it. He's not, he's not stressed or anxious or worried. And as soon as the truck drives away, he goes and back to his favorite spot on the couch and plays with his toy. He's fine. So that's the goal. Okay. And we're coming up on time, so I don't want to go through the rest of these at great length. I'm going to kind of hurry through them. So this is the process for constructing replacement behaviors. We can go into this in more detail at a future meeting. But the first thing we want to ask is the functional reward for the reactivity. And on that, your behavior questionnaire that you filled out, I had a question similar to this, is what is the dog's reward, or what is he getting out of the behavior? And a lot of you struggled to come up with an answer for that. And it's a hard question. And I kind of knew that it was a hard question, but it was something important to think about. And the functional reward is he's getting relief. and he's getting to express his energy, his emotion. And expression is a relief. So once we know that, then we can decide how we're going to control access. Now, how you've controlled access in the past is you covered the windows, or you pulled the dog away, or you tried to distract him, but none of that worked, did it? That's why we're all here. It doesn't work. So the way we control access to that is we manage the environment according to the things that we can manage. We can't manage the trigger, and we shouldn't try, because the trigger for the most part is a normal part of our social environment. And we can't manage it. People are going to walk down the street. Trucks are going to come down the driveway. It's just a part of everyday life. So what we manage in the environment is the energy that's associated with it. And we don't try to limit exposure by managing it. We manage our response. So again, I'm going to kind of rush through this because I know this is food for thought that we can talk about in the future. And we're going to link a polite behavior that's coming. We're not quite there yet. We're working on the dog's natural repertoire, and they all have this. They all have things that are natural to them. You can start to, planting a little seed for you to think about. And finally, this chart, you can kind of look, what CER means. The goal is in the center. We talked about distance, disengaging, and the role of agency, making choices, predictable. We're going to talk about this in more detail going forward because I don't want to rush through it. And then this last slide is just so, move it so you can see it. This is what we're doing. At the heart of learner-centered education, the teacher, that's you, acts as a guide whose role is to elicit rather than impart. We draw things out of the dog rather than put things in. Elicit rather than to impart, and learners quickly become empowered and equipped to transfer their knowledge and skills to new scenarios. So once we empower the dogs and equip them with knowledge, then they can transfer those skills to the social environments that contain all kinds of triggers that they now can understand. Does that all make sense? Or is it totally confusing? Let's stop the share. Yeah. Okay. So I know I kind of rushed through that toward the end, but we will come back to that and we will deal with it. And I will put those slides in the, I'll put it in the lessons category. And I'll they're PowerPoint slides, so I will save them as a PDF and I'll put them in there as a PDF and you can look at them and ask questions. So anybody want to ask anything before we sign off?
Technical question. I tried to post a little video to the group and I couldn't access it. And if there's a place where you can send us instructions on how to do that, I'd love to share a few, but I just couldn't make it work. So.
All right, let me go back to the, because I still have the website up. Whoops, what am I doing here? Sometimes my clicking gets out of control. Okay. All right, so this is the website. And do you know where you put, oh, this is really cute. Nancy, thank you. Yeah. The dog, yeah. Beverly, there are two areas. There's the feed, and when you go into, there's feed and topics. I'll go to topics in a second. But since we're in feed, where it says write something, when you click on that, if you want to post a video, you click on this little video icon. And you need to paste a link. And the easiest kind of link to paste in there is a YouTube, an unlisted link from YouTube. So if you upload your video to YouTube and grab and make it unlisted, and then grab the link and then paste the link in that spot. I think that's the easiest thing.
Is that true? Is that true for Vimeo too? Or is,
What
Yeah,
I've just done the Google links, and I think that's worked fine. I've just shared the link, and I haven't been necessarily clicking on the video, but the link one, or either one, and it seems to have worked.
if you can get a Google link, I think that should work. And I don't see why a Vimeo link wouldn't also work.
okay.
As
I'll try it.
long as it's a link. The only thing you can't do, which I wish you could, is directly upload it from your computer.
Mhm.
I wish you
Maybe
could
not.
do that, but apparently you can't. And then if you want everybody to see it, make sure you check that little box.
Uh-huh.
And
You
before,
know, I don't know that I've had that box. I don't know that we see that box, because yeah. Everyone's seen the several videos I've,
Yeah.
you should see
Yeah.
it. You have to, I think you have to, before the post, see when I hover over post, I get that little naughty sign. You have to have some text before the post button is active.
Huh.
So you don't have to do a picture, a video or a post. So can everybody see Nancy's cartoon if you go in?
Love it.
they can probably see it because it's on your screen, but on their own
No,
screen.
but if you go into up to your, you should, if you can't see it, then you didn't click the well, no, you should be able to. This just sends a notification. Everybody gets an email that somebody posted something, and then you can, then the email has a link and it takes you right in to see it.
Yeah, Nancy, I'm not sure if I got an email, but I was able to see your video and your comics. So,
Okay.
but
So we're good.
I don't recall if I got a notification in my email.
Okay, I'll try to look for that. But I haven't, yet, but I'll try to look for it.
Yeah.
And there's like several, we actually did like several videos, so hopefully they're.
It just tells everybody that you posted something. I mean, if you don't check that, it's, yeah, it doesn't mean it won't get posted. It will. As soon as you click the post link, it'll be posted. So, yeah. And then in the topics, just go in here, and this is under lessons is where I'll put the PDF with the slides that I was showing you. So this is making your dog's name fun. Yeah, I'll do step 2. I'll put step 2 in there for you. So, yeah. And this, oh, here's your post, Nancy. Yeah. See, yeah. Right there. Under snuggles. Yeah. Yay. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Everybody can get into the website, okay, and you can post things. And if you check that little box, then I will also be notified, and I'll know to go in there and look at it. Because sometimes I get side, because I'm getting I'm doing all the tech. We're doing a summit in October. Everybody know that? Doing a summit on puppies in October. It's going to be awesome. It's free, so you'll all be able to go in and watch it. It's, you know, a lot of speakers talking about puppies, but they're talking about, all kinds of different, really fascinating things. I love doing these summits because I get to interview all these people. Really cool. So, yeah, so I've kind of been working all day on that because there's a lot of, you know, techie stuff to do to get it all set up right. So I've been working on that. So if I get an email, I'll go in and look at it, but I might forget to go in and look otherwise. So, all right, everybody good? Nancy, I will check on that thing and I will send you, if I don't see, if it isn't in my Zoom meetings, then I will make a Zoom meeting for Wednesday, 12:15, and I'll send you the link. Okay, awesome. All right, guys.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Also,
Thank you.
okay,
Nice meeting
I'll
everyone.
post this recording in the group where it says group meetings. I'll post this there. Okay?
Great.
All right.
Good
Good night,
night.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.